downstairs munching. I just finished munching. I like how we were talking about, yeah, this was a lot to take in. I'm hungry, though.
I know, isn't that so funny where it's like, oh, this is so disgusting, I want to throw up. Where's my food? Like,
Dude, when I was in
oh,
college and, like, studying genocide and those types of things, I would be watching some of the most horrific shit you could ever fucking see as a person. And I'd just be like, spaghetti sounds good tonight.
mm-hmm.
Wild. Absolutely wild. I'm just like, oh my god.
It's like, oh. It's like the mortician being like, cold air is cold air. As they, like, store their sandwiches with the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yep. Yep. Unfortunately. Ugh. There's no new banter. I'm sorry. I just bitched about my swim career. Because we're recording these back to back.
There's not too much going on with me. It's like, there's me. I've forgotten my to-do list. But what's new? I've been bad about practicing my Russian. Honestly, like, I have not been in a super good spot with, like, personal goals. But, like, with other things that are going on, I feel like it's all going pretty well.
I feel like it's a give and take scenario when it comes to those types of things. Like, you're either going to do really good in, like, professional goals and life like that, and your personal goals are going to suffer a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Or your personal goals are growing great, and then your professional is just fucking in hell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Where it's like, hey, I just, like, finished writing a whole novel, but my work life is terrible.
Yeah, me, for instance. I'm over here like, hey, I can swim a 500 free and a 400 IM in under an hour now. But everything else really fucking sucks.
I know, well, I'm not with you for, like, every podcast episode, but I can't help but feel like those kind of disappeared for a little bit.
Yeah, they did disappear for a little bit because I was just like, I didn't have it in me to sit down and look at Lalaurie anymore. And then I also just didn't have it in me to sit down and do other stuff. Like, the motivation, and it's not to say that I don't love what I do, but the motivation to keep going gets really, really hard sometimes. And it's hard when it's just you doing a lot of the research and it's you putting together a lot of these cases. And then you get in your own mind, like, people aren't going to like this. And yeah, no.
Who cares?
It gets rough. It gets rough real fast.
Whenever I think about stuff like that, I think about the guy who does and how he's, like, so opinionated on everything that he, like, talks about. And he's like, oh, yeah, we have all these haters. And I'm like, yeah, you have haters because you just called the victim a millennial in, like, the bad way. Like, it's their fault they got married because they're a millennial. They'll be like, people are trying to get me kicked off the podcast again. No, you'll never be as bad as that guy.
Yeah,
and
thankfully.
That guy still has, like, a cult following, so...
I'm just over here, I'm like, I try to bring the Markiplier vibes to most of my stuff. Granted, Spattered's very, very serious. But I mean, like, while the podcast was suffering, I did pick up on Twitch. And I did gain almost, in 3 months, 50 followers over there. Which was fucking insane. So yeah, no. I'm like, honestly, I think I needed a breath from everything going on, and then just, like, a breath from the pod too, because I won't sugarcoat it, our world is kind of in a really shitty situation right now, and then also focusing on the crime aspect and anything else going on, and you don't get to escape from that, it weighs on you after a bit. It really does. No, taking time to myself and actually taking time to thoroughly go through this and take it in a way that wasn't like, I need to scarf down 4 books in a week and get the notes ready to go. I think it did justice more to this case to take the time that I did. And then taking little breaks to do a missing persons case here and there. But because
Well, you do such a good job with like your journalism. Like it's impressive. I'm sure that the people that know, I'm sure that they know, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, she does all this research and she gets like every little detail and she checks every, like outlet or resource."
I get as much as I can. When I look at, like, not for instance with this one, because this one comes a lot from, like I said, the Carolyn Marolong book is the one that I cited the most during this. And I'll usually point out the source that I go for the most during my recordings. But when I'm doing like missing persons cases, like depending on how well known it is, I could be sitting, like for instance, with the Emanuela Orlandi case. I sat and watched the Netflix series over the course of a week to put that one together. And it was literally taking notes basically verbatim and then re-paraphrasing them in my own words to get it out there so it's not plagiarism and we can cite that source properly. But it's a lot of work. I won't lie to you. It is a lot of work, and a lot of the time, like, you'll hit that wall and really just go, yeah, no, I need to back away for a little bit. But I also think what was happening during the beginning of this podcast, and even like looking back at the older one too, with how I was doing research, was that I did not do it as like a work day type of thing. Like when I sat down to do research, I would go for as long as I possibly could. And in turn, that really, really fucked up my sleeping schedule. And it really screwed with my brain a little bit.
That's because you have the ADHDs.
Yeah, it's that hyper focus. So now it's like,
yeah,
we've gotten to a point, granted, we are recording late, but that's just when it fits the schedule. But if I'm working on something, as soon as 6 p.m. hits, I'm done. Like, I need to step away.
Well, there are other podcasts that have, like, probably a team of people. It might not be a big team,
it's just me
but
here.
doing the work that you're doing on your own. Yeah. And you're not just, like, reiterating cases that you've already heard of. You're actually going through and you're going about it in a brand new way. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's something to be said about that. It's not easy. Yeah.
And especially when it's just you at the end of the day, putting stuff together. And it's not to complain. I do love doing the work by myself because, yeah, that's just the way that I usually work, because it's easier for me to just do it myself. So I know what's going to be on that paper and I know what I'm going to talk about. However, having somebody to do like the ground-based research and just give me notes that I can go through and check before I write out my article, that'd be great. I don't have money for that.
One day.
One day.
One day you will.
And honestly, I think this last week is the most work that I did on Lalaurie, like consistently, other than just like reading and making notes. Because I took a big break during this case to just be like, I need to fucking breathe and walk away from this shit, because what the fuck? And it's not like it was that bad. We've had worse cases. It's just, it was a lot to take in, and my brain was already at its limit.
Yeah. Well, in this one, there's like a lot of like issues that still exist today, that this is kind of like, it's a part of something so much bigger than itself.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, that's pretty much why episodes kind of stopped coming out, is that I needed to check my mental health for sure. And then I was also just trying to like enjoy life a little bit. And the gaming and the streaming on that end is definitely a lot more fun than digging into some really, really dark shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I disappear on Spattered for anywhere longer than a month, I'm probably over on Kia Rex doing stuff over there. If you miss me.
You can just go watch you there.
Just go watch me battle against zombies. Go check me out. If you like Resident Evil, we will be streaming Requiem as soon as it drops next month. I'm not ready. I'm ready, but I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
It's got me nervous. It got me so nervous, man. But anyways,
We'll see what happens.
we'll see what happens. It should be entertaining regardless. Anyways, let's go ahead and transition into this last chunk of Lalaurie and get this crazy bitch off my show. So,
Yay.
here we go.
She really is.
She is.
Isn't she?
She is. I'm just like, oh my God. It's just one thing after another, man. Although I will say that there's some just desserts in here that made me cackle and smile just a little bit. So I hope they make you cackle and smile too. To the disclaimer! Goodbye! While we understand that some individuals listen for the entertainment aspect of true crime, it's important to remember that these are real people with families and friends who may still be suffering from their loss. These stories are not meant to open old wounds or cause further emotional damage to those involved. We remind you to please be respectful and do not dox or contact those involved with cases. The cases discussed on this podcast may be disturbing to some listeners, and listener discretion is advised. All right. We back. I will plug in trigger warnings probably right here with my future self. So, hello, future me. Dear past me, I hope that you understand that I'm editing this as we go, and I do not understand what trigger warnings are available. So, I have to put a section in here and block it off for when I have to come back and list off the trigger warnings after editing. Love, your future self.
Hello, future Katie.
Hello, past Sarah. Trigger warnings for this episode include, but are not limited to, minor involvement as well as domestic violence. Hopefully she's not too mad at me.
I'm triggered.
I'm triggered. Is that your safe word?
Oh, triggered. Yeah. Just before we even get started, I'm gonna be, for sure. But, okay.
It's okay. Margot's there to be your emotional support cat. You got this.
She is. She's my registered emotional support animal. Mm-hmm. She's also secretly a duck. She doesn't make cat sounds. She just quacks.
That's weird because Brina does that too. Mm-hmm. She quacks at me. I call her Little Duck. Mm-hmm. Where we left off is that the Lalaurie mansion has burned. It's been demolished by an angry mob. The slaves that were in their care have been removed and taken to the Cabildo, which we'll talk a little bit more about that moving forward, I believe. And basically, the story is going national. Like, everybody knows what the fuck just happened in New Orleans. And after it goes national, there's an eerie quiet that kind of falls over the city, where people are wondering where Delphine vanished to. She is believed to still be hiding in New Orleans to some people. And then there's other people that are like, nah, she's either at one of the plantations or other properties that's like tucked away into the swamp. Now, before leaving New Orleans, Delphine was residing in a town of Madamville in the Saint Tammany parish. And I'm so sorry if I mispronounced any of that. Once again, we don't speak French. We don't speak Spanish. We barely speak English. Bear with me. We're going on a ride together. So it's unsure how long that she stayed there, but she did manage to sign over power of attorney to her son-in-law before leaving. And this is Auguste Delus. That was the person that got signed power of attorney. People theorize that she never left New Orleans after the fire. Instead, she went back to using the name Madame Blanc and took up residency on Bayou Road, which is the road that she used to escape, mind you. I don't think this is accurate. I think it's much more likely that she ran from the city out of fear of being lynched. According to Parcast serial killers, Delphine likely didn't immediately leave the South. It's likely that she went to Alabama first to regroup with her children and husband following the event. Within a month, they fled to New York City, which it's likely she was hoping for a new start there. However, according to some reports, by the time that she had arrived in New York City, word of her crimes had already reached Manhattan. So, while New York at this time has many racist practices of their own, they consider themselves to be more benevolent towards African American people than the Southerners are. So, naturally, Delphine would have been treated with disgust. In order to escape her reputation, she'd likely need to leave the country. And by summer of 1834, the Lalauries board a ship to France that exited via the Hudson Bay. This claim is also proven accurate, as during the transit from France, a poet by the name of William Cullen Bryant was on board and wrote of a pretty-looking French woman that went by the name Madame Delphine. This ship set sail on June 24th of 1834, leaving from New York to the French port of Le Havre on a ship named Poland. On July 14th of 1834, the Lalauries arrived in Le Havre and made their way to Louis' ancestral home in Villeneuve-sur-Lot. It appears that Louis took up the heated invitation extended to him by his father in 1827 that if you or any of your siblings should fall into need, it is my home that you will find retreat in. So the news of the fire spread throughout the United States. And by the summer of 1834, the story had crossed the sea into the French village of Villeneuve. It's not recorded how this news was broken to the rest of the Lalaurie family at the estate. However, it is noted that Delphine was treated politely by the rest of the family, but not really loved by her in-laws. In November of 1834, Louis and his sisters opened their late mother's succession. At the time, they'd also be settling Laurent Eugene Lalaurie's estate, who was Louis' brother. And from what's known of what happened to him is that he left the country and was presumed dead at this point because he never returned. As a result of this, Laurent had left a property behind, which was a small house, in which Louis paid his sisters a balance of 16,000 francs over the course of 3 years with a 5% interest to have. The sisters also took the furniture in the building as part of the payment. So when Louis and Delphine and little Jean-Louis Lalaurie move into this modest dwelling, there were no servants, no furniture, no linens, and other amenities were not available. So this was considered a very, very reasonable step down from their beautiful mansion lifestyle in New Orleans.
You think it was worth it? Chaining all those people to the wall and ceiling and whatever else they were doing?
I don't know. I feel like this is a little bit of karma.
It's their own fault, really. I don't know why they did all that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what was the end goal? What was it? There probably wasn't even one single little tiny end goal.
No. I don't think they
Just
thought
dumb
things
people
through ever.
Oh yeah, no, it sounds like it was all just like them being emotional.
It was just a fart on the wind, man. They followed it.
They're following their fart. They're
following their fart on the wind.
Stop smelling it, run faster.
So, in further writings from Auguste de Laus, the son-in-law to Delphine, he wrote that his poor mother-in-law was disgusted with France and was confined to the house. Delphine swore that falsehoods and slander followed them to France. Delphine sobbed and told of how she would have to sleep on the floor. And de Laus noted that Louis was a useless and unreliable fellow. Although he uses the French slang, which tends to be a little bit more coarse and insulting. And I don't know how to pronounce it, so you'll have to find that yourself. But for the most part, he's basically
Yay.
like, this man is worthless. Like, he's a wretch. So while the Lalauries were in France, Delos was disposing of the slaves the couple owned, selling them off to other slave traders and plantation. Delos also took care of the partially demolished house. Delphine would end up going by a false name for the remainder of her years, and according to the book Madame Delphine Mistress of the Haunted House, she likely died in Paris sometime before 1851, as her children were beginning to settle her estates at that time. However, many historians disagree and even argue her time, date, and place of death. In some other readings, like, for instance, Madame Lalaurie, it's thought that she returned to New Orleans and lived out the rest of her days there. Which, I'm like, I don't know how she would get back into New Orleans. She's infamous at this point. Without somebody recognizing her and going, hey, don't I know you? Aren't you that bitch that fucking owned the Royal Street House over here? So I don't think that's as accurate. I think it's probably a little bit more accurate that she did die in Paris. It is recorded, however, that Delphine is interned in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 sometime between 1851, and shows that it belongs to the plot that she's in belongs to the family of Pauline Blanc. However, I believe that the sign has been taken down as to stop vandalism as well as possible theft of said item.
Oh, I'm sure people are very interested in that sign.
Well,
and also probably very interested in vandalizing it.
When we toured St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, like, we went past Marie Laveau's tomb, and the reason why St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 is locked off now is because of the vandalism that happened to that tomb, because somebody decided that they were going to paint it bright pink, and it destroyed part of it. It absolutely destroyed part of the building. The structure and the foundation of it.
That's not the vandalism I was expecting.
No.
Not even like a little bit.
No. It's just, it's wild. And, like, it's not the only vandalism that they've had in there. They've had other tombs be desecrated, and they just can't handle people being in there unsupervised anymore. So, during the house fire, Delphine had a total of 30 slaves, men and women. The sale of 11 individuals by Delos followed the fire is recorded, which means that there are 19 persons unaccounted for.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Some may have died earlier of old age, illness, or simply ran away during the fire, taking the opportunity to gain their own freedom. However, given the strict record keeping in New Orleans during this time for slave trade, the disappearances of so many individuals without so much as a sighting or trace points towards where they went, it really, really leans towards more sinister implications.
Mm-hmm.
So from here, the story does seem to kind of blur into legend with her dying in Paris, and some evidence, like I said, suggests that this isn't the case. Some sources talk about how Dr. Lalaurie was known for his potions, which I believe we mentioned previously. Other sources talk about how after torturing slaves to death, they would dispose of them in the swamps, which isn't entirely unfounded as well. As I said, the elite Creole did like to take their evening air at the bayou. So who's to say when Bastian's pulling the carriage around, he's not loading slaves into a trunk or something. Or bodies into a trunk, I should say. To dispose of.
You're just throwing suitcases. I would
don't
not
think
be
they even threw them in
surprised.
with the suitcases. I think they just weighed them down a little bit or like dumped them off the edge and let the gators take them. Like, I really point to that scene in Interview with the Vampire when they're disposing of Laurent in the swamp,
Mm-hmm.
and they just pushed him off.
They're like, the other animals will take care of this.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing, like, when we talk forensically, like, for outdoor scenes, you have to take into account that there's going to be animal scavenging if it's been there long enough.
I mean, what is it? Roadkill looks worse in Texas. Yeah.
Yeah. So, regardless, this is kind of the end of the story of Lalaurie. What I will say is that there are sympathizers out there that believe she was set up by a member of upper Creole society. Some historians aren't fully convinced of this whole story. Some point to Dr. Lalaurie having more of a hand in it than Delphine, and Delphine being the victim. I don't think that's entirely true. I think they were both at it together. However, let's kind of go into the theory a little bit regarding her being set up, because I do want to talk about this and kind of clarify it a little bit too. So, some people, like I said, do believe that she's innocent. Given at the time, there were conflicting reports in the newspaper. And according to Carol Long, the two newspaper head editors from that one day, I believe it was the 14th or the 15th, when they said that, like, oh, bodies have been found in the courtyard. Those two editors actually did not like each other. So they were just trying to overscoop each other to basically throw the other one being down below, of being like, oh, I have the newest shit. And it's like, no, you don't. You're lying to people. You're lying to people.
That happens so much in media. They're just like, hey, check out this thing that's even crazier.
That's why you can't trust them. You cannot trust the media. I'm sorry.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, I look at that shit nowadays. I'm like, this is propaganda. So some scholars think that the misinformation goes far beyond that, though. The first theory is the secret saboteur, which was first brought up in 1934 by journalist Meigs Frost, who suggested that one man engineered Delphine's downfall through a campaign of slander and defamation. This man was
her husband.
I mean, she did try to sue him for slander. She was like, I want out of here because he's telling lies about me. So there's that too. But this man was known only as Monsieur Montaille. And according to Frost, Montaille was part of another Creole dynasty family, the Montiels, I believe is how that's pronounced. And they shared power with the McCartys. Now, Delphine had apparently cheated him out of a property deal during her climb out of debt when married to Blanc. And Montaille wanted revenge, so he used his family's influences to spread lies about her and slave abuse, which may have been the basis of the story for the child falling off the rooftop given by an anonymous neighbor. On the day of the fire, it's recorded that Montaille had given a statement that the Lalauries had been committing atrocities for years. However, similar to Bose, Montaille had been accusing Delphine of mistreating her bondspeople for years. Additionally, there was no record of a property deal that spurred Montaille to seek revenge. He had no other reason to accuse her other than he believed that she was guilty of slave abuse. By the 1920s, many of Delphine's descendants convinced New Orleans journalists to publish articles that questioned her guilt. However, there's too much evidence within the Lalaurie mansion to state that she's innocent of the crimes. The more probable reason behind her motives is that Delphine saw a lot of slave abuse as a child, similar to, like I said, Elizabeth Bathory was seeing torture and executions brought up regularly as just like an everyday thing. She probably became desensitized to it, and it became something of normal to her. She also lived through 2 slave rebellions, which did see bloodshed on the McCarty family members. Her uncle and cousin were casualties during those uprisings. So she likely was pretty afraid of seeing something similar happen to her. And either A, was trying to assert dominance, or B, was trying to instill fear.
Oh, both.
I
For
think it's
sure.
a little bit of both.
It's
that hedonistic style where it's not really sexual in nature. It's not really like godly per se, but it's definitely one of those ones that's like, I need to dominate this situation. Because
this is just speculation, but she sounds like a textbook narcissist.
Oh, she
like the whole
absolutely
time
is.
we've talked about her, I'm like, she has a personality disorder.
Absolutely.
Like, that is for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have to say speculation.
There's no question. When you've been called beautiful your whole life, like, oh, you're so beautiful, you can have whatever you want. Oh, you're so beautiful, you can do this. Oh, you're so beautiful. That goes to your head after a while. And then she's like, fuck, I could get away with anything. I'm so pretty.
She's like, I've gotten away with it all.
I've gotten away
Look
with
at
it all.
Bastion taking me away to France. As he, like, pulls the carriage away, like, a single tear rolls down his cheek because he knows what he's doing.
He's like, it's over.
He's like, I know. I know she's a monster.
I know she's a monster, but I have to do this because otherwise it will happen to me. So, yeah. I think it was a power play on her behalf. I don't think she ever expected her own countrymen and women to turn on her the way that they did, though. I don't think she expected that at all. And when it happened, it really fucking freaked her out. Hence the, I need to go. I need to get away. I need to run. So, that kind of ends the factual-based story as much as I could put into it. And even then, I feel like some of this isn't exactly right. Like, it's been 190 some years. I really feel like there's some things that we will never know about this case. And honestly, I think that's okay at this point. I think we know enough. However, we're going to go through some myths and truths real quick. So, there are rumors that her parents were murdered during the slave rebellion. These rumors first turned up in George Washington Cable's Stranger True Stories of Louisiana, which was the first book that also described the hauntings at the Lalaurie mansion. Now, George Washington Cable's book is rather fictionalized and over-exaggerated, to say the least, because at the time he's trying to make a sale. So keep that in mind. This was given in the book as the modus operandi for why she did what she did. However, there's no evidence that foul play was involved with her mother or her father's deaths. They both died of natural causes, and we did list off in here when they died. And it does not line up with either of the slave rebellions. The only 2 members of the McCarty family that died during the 2 slave rebellions in Louisiana were her uncle and her cousin. Now, author Harriet Martineau reported in her own literature that Bastion was Delphine's spy and would report on other enslaved persons to her for like wrongdoings, to basically be like, I got an upper step. There were also rumors from Herbert Osbury that suggested that Bastion was Delphine's lover. However, these are mostly based in theory and rumor and not fact. Additionally,
Bastion,
I
was about to say, not surprised.
Not surprised. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was happening, anything. But it's rumor. Like, there's no factual evidence to base that this was happening. The rumor of Bastion, the carriage driver, meeting a grisly end at the docks of Lake Pontchartrain is a myth. It's recorded in the De Los delouses records of slave sales that he was actually sold to another family, but the sale did fall through, and then he was resold to a business firm of Robert and Berkston Layton and Nathaniel Hyde. He was eventually emancipated for his work in the industry and good conduct. He was given permission to remain in Louisiana, though. The child falling from the roof story. Now, from what I can find, this is a second and third hand account that came years after, when the author, Harriet Martineau, visited New Orleans to write her own book. It's not to say something like this didn't happen, but there's no evidence to prove it. History.com did cite this as being fact and stated the date of the fall was in 1833, further stating that Lalaurie tried to cover up the incident, but the body was found inside a well on the property. Once again, I could not find the source that they pulled that from. So just to let you know, like, if you're going out there to try to find these things, sometimes even the more reputable sources that I would go with don't always have the right answer. So, like I said, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying there's no evidence to prove it at this time. The bodies under the floorboards during renovation. This absolutely did not happen. That would have been breaking news at any time period. And you can't find a single article on it anywhere. It did not happen. This story is 192 years old. It's shifted. It's grown. If I were to go through all the myths of media, we'd be here all day long. Because so many people have changed the story to fit their own narratives. And then you've also got a local legend that has spawned off of it. Which I think that there's a place for not only the local legend, but also the truth. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's your decision of what you're going to make of it. So I do have a couple of things that we're going to go into, because some of you might be going, but what about the devil baby? I don't know if you heard this one. This one's completely new to me. So the story goes that the voodoo queen Marie Laveau was, in a sense, tutoring Delphine in the ways of voodoo. When Laveau comes across a deformed, cursed at conception baby, she goes ahead and takes it in and takes care of it in the dark, and it's basically screaming and drooling until its death at 5 years after its birth. However, according to the legend, Marie Laveau asked Delphine to stand in as a godparent to the child. As fun of a story as the demon baby is, it's very likely that this child suffered from a very rare birth defect called Harlequin ichthyosis, and I'm so sorry if that was mispronounced.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
I know exactly what that is.
It is the extreme
It's so unfortunate.
thickening of the keratin layer of the baby's skin, which causes diamond-shaped cracks to appear. And between said cracks, there are angry open wounds that usually kind of glow red because they're irritated.
Whatever you're picturing, like, it's so much worse than that.
It's so much worse.
It's so bad. It's like, have you seen like the like lemon cracked bread or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, but all like on a person.
Yeah, it's not pleasant to see, and it really breaks your heart to see it. So when those wounds would open, they would have a period of time where they would heal for a little bit before a growth spurt would come back through and reopen them.
Oh.
So.
Oh, God. And is this real? This child made it to 5?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it made it to 5. I don't know if this whole
gosh.
story is real or not. If it is, that poor, poor baby. Oh, my God.
That's a lot of years of that.
That's a lot of years of that. Like, that is...
I don't know, like, how long they last in modern medicine, you know?
I don't even
I
know
don't know how
that.
long they let them live. Yeah.
Because
I don't know if there are any treatments for it.
that is excruciatingly painful. Like, coming from somebody that suffers from severe eczema, like, I used to get cracks on my feet as a kid that would regularly reopen and bleed. That shit sucked. That shit was horrible. I can only imagine how bad that would fucking feel. So, there is little basis in fact with local legend, especially when it concerns Delphine and the demon baby, or the demon baby's existence at all. But it's a fun little story people like to tell. Same with, under Marie Laveau's teachings, Delphine was learning how to make zombies. Or Dr. Lalaurie was. Sarah, are you ready for fun stuff? Are you ready for hauntings?
I guess.
You look just so out of it. You're like, I don't like this.
We talked about Harlequin babies and voodoo people and yeah.
So let's talk about the haunted house a little bit. Because when you go to New Orleans, that is what it's referred to. Like, that's all I ever heard it referred to. Nobody talks about the Lalauries very much unless you're going on a ghost tour. Or you're talking in specific to them. Otherwise, people do call it the haunted house. So we pretty much went over the history of the years being, it was built in 1831 to the fire and destruction in 1833. So in 1837 to 1865, the house was rebuilt in its current 3-story configuration and purchased in 1837 by a man who only keeps the building for a total of 3 months. While this man owns the home, he tells his friends and family that the house plagued him with awful noises, cries, and groans in the middle of the night, so much so that he was driven to leave the place. Following his quick departure, he attempts to lease rooms, but tenants only stay a couple of days before dipping out as well. He eventually gives up and rents out the establishment. A furniture store occupies the basement for a short time, then a barber shop a few months later. However, no tenant or business stays long enough, and rumors start to circulate that there's a curse on the location. In 1860 to 1865, the Civil War started to rage throughout the country, and during that time, Union occupation is rumored to basically use the Lalaurie house as a headquarters. In 1872, there's reconstruction that's going on to the house for it to become a public high school for girls of the lower district. The school enrolls both black and white students, as New Orleans is more open to desegregation than most of the other South at this point. In 1873, the house is listed as a leaf and tobacco business owned by Joseph Barnes. However, according to a 1938 city guide of New Orleans, it's possible that this was used as a gambling house at this time. Stories were told of strange lights coming on and off, kind of glowing through the rooms, shadow objects and apparitions draped with sheets with skeletal hands protruding. So it gives me the vibe, really, of like when we talk about like skeletal arms protruding from bed sheets, of an unused ballroom where they drape sheets over top of things and like just to keep the dust off of everything. So be that statues, a piano, chairs. And mind you, if you've ever been in a room like that, it gets really unnerving really fast because, yeah, some of those do look like people just walking around as you're like going through the area. It's really unnerving. I can understand how it would play tricks on your mind to see shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1876, on May 28th, the Daily Picayune, and I'm sorry if that was mispronounced, runs an ad about the house being up for auction. In 1878, the New Orleans school system is officially segregated, and the house becomes a high school for black girls only. The school only lasted a year, though, before closing down. In 1882, the mansion was turned into a music and fashionable dance school. The owner was an English teacher, and local newspapers claimed that the staff were improper with female students. The school closed, and it stated that the night it was abandoned, the spirits of the Lalaurie house held a wild, in quotes, carnival to celebrate their triumph of basically scaring these people out. I don't know what a wild carnival is when it comes to spirits. It sounds like a lot of raving lights in the house. They just had a rave. It's fine.
How did the people even know? Did they keep going in? They just like go in, stick their head in, like, oh yeah. They keep lighting all the candles and turning them off really fast.
Well, I mean, there's still neighbors around here. So, like, when you're standing on the corner of Governor Nicholas Street and Royal Street, like, the house does take up that corner, but you've got buildings across the street. There's a couple brothels down the street. There's a couple other houses down this way. So the way that it stands is that there's windows on all sides of the house. So if a light comes on in there and the blinds aren't drawn or closed or the curtains aren't closed, you're going to see it. So I imagine maybe it came from like second witness testimony of neighbors being like, there's some weird shit happening over there. Like they're just all like buggy eyed, like nobody lives there. What's happening? In 1889, an apartment in the house was occupied by one Joseph Edward Vingy for a little more than 3 years. Neighbors believed the guy was basically a poor, crazy man because he just liked being by himself.
In the haunted house?
In the haunted house. He was just like...
I mean, he's not really alone.
He just did not want to be bothered by people. I'm like, this guy was just a loner. It's fine. However, in 1892... Vingy was found dead upstairs. So he died in the house.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Also, there's a black crepe that was hung on one of the house doors, which I'm actually going to Google what that means exactly because I don't know. I don't know what that means. Oh. So it's a versatile fabric with finely crinkled and pebbled surface, which is also known as a fruit drape, often used for elegant dresses, blouses, suits, and available in materials like polyester, silk, wool, and rayon, and can also refer to a black band worn around as a mourning symbol. Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. We learned something new here together. So... like I said, there's a black crepe that's seen on the doors of the house, and an inspection of the apartment revealed more than $10,000 cash in family heirlooms stashed in various places. The contents of the house are auctioned off, and no one admits to hanging the black crepe. So, we don't know what happened there. 1900s to 1923. There's immigration to America, and it's in full swing. We're seeing a lot of Italian families come overseas to live in New Orleans. So landlords are snatching up old buildings left and right to put up cheap housing. But for many tenants, the rent isn't low enough to keep them at the Lalaurie mansion. This is also the time that people start to spread the first sightings of like skeletons under the floorboards. Like this is where this starts. By this time, there are many reports of ghosts being seen at the house, a man carrying his own head, another chained to the main stairs. A young Italian mother reported that she saw an apparition of a wealthy-looking white woman standing over her sleeping baby. In other variations of the story, this woman was actually attempting to suffocate the infant, and the apparition has since been identified as Delphine Lalaurie herself. In 1923, the mansion was bought by William Warrington, and it became the Warrington House for Wayward Boys until 1932. So, in a sense, it's a boarding school for juvenile boys that had previously been sent to the parish prison. There is a lack of paranormal reports at this time, and the house served basically as a boarding school for a couple years. Until 1932, the house is sold to the Grand Consistory. Consistory, yeah. In 1932, the house is sold to the Grand Consistory of Louisiana, which is an organization that confers the degrees of the ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry. So basically, the Freemasons move into this building. There's no paranormal activity described at this time either. In 1945, the house becomes a bar, and the owners take the opportunity to profit off of its local legend and name it the Haunted Saloon. The owner then proceeds to make a record of everything he, his workers, and patrons all experienced at the saloon, accounts of flying objects, blurry figures, etc., the basic stuff that you would expect to kind of like be happening during a haunting. However, take it with a grain of salt. These men probably have a lot of bourbon on their backs. Anyways, 1950s, a furniture store opens in the building, but doesn't do so well. Now, this one kind of made me go, that's weird. That's really fucking weird. The owner suspected that vandalism occurred when he came in one day and all of the merchandise was ruined and covered with a foul and unidentifiable liquid. So the merchandise is replaced, and he comes back the next day to the same thing. So he replaces it one more time and decides that he's going to wait in the store with a shotgun for the vandals to come by. At sunrise, no one shows up that night, but he finds that all the furniture has once again been befouled with an unidentifiable liquid. So, as any sane person does, he closes up shop. He's like, maybe not. Maybe this isn't for me. He got the hell out of there. The house said get out. He went say less. In 1964, the house stands empty, and eventually there's an article that is posted in the Times-Pictionary regarding how there needs to be action to try to stop the deterioration of abandoned houses as people have been looting it to its bones. So the floorboards, the upper balcony, and among a couple other things have been stripped away from the Lalaurie mansion, and at the time that this article was published, looting has presumably been occurring for nearly 38 months on the building. In 1969, Zella Funk, an artist, resident of the house, and a ghost host, is interviewed by New Orleans State's IDEM reporter, Lorraine Gura, and I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name, for her column, Sieste la Vie. In the article, Funk describes the poltergeist in the house as being playful, but not active every day. She describes an incident where a cat was seen in a room that was being occupied by guests that didn't believe in spirits, and she informed them the next morning that she didn't have a cat. Which I'm like, I mean, I feel like a stray could get in. I feel like I've seen my cat climb some things that I didn't think that they would be able to climb.
Ghost cats.
Ghost cats, though.
They're like, oh, it's just a cat over there in the corner. Or is it?
It's just Church in the corner from Pet Sematary.
Yeah, it's just a little buddy.
It's just a little buddy. So, Funk also described one of the spirits as a romantic figure of a man. She'd watched him for several minutes in a full-length mirror before eventually he faded away. She described this apparition as 5'9" with a red clipped beard. He weighed roughly 170 pounds, and Funk has also described how doors will open and close by themselves and has had contact with the Dr. Lalaurie himself. However, she stated that she's never heard chains clanking in the middle of the night.
Something I've noticed about, like, ghost sightings, I'm not a skeptic at all, but, like, from a skeptic point of view
Mm-hmm.
is that they vary based on person.
Yeah,
You can get totally different claims from totally different people.
exactly. I think it just
Mm-hmm.
depends on the energy that you bring into the establishment, because if you're coming in scared already, like, I'm sorry, if I was a ghost, I want to mess with you a little bit.
Okay, no, if you're anxious, you're definitely going to see something because you're anxious. Your
Mm-hmm.
body's already like
It's
on a
prepared to see
swivel.
something, and whether it's real or not,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just, it is what it is.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
So, in 1970 to 2000, the house was divided into 20 apartments again before being purchased by a retired New Orleans physician. He restored the home to the state that he believes that it used to originally be in. However, it's very likely that he restored it to its second build because you can't take off the third floor, obviously. Like, it's there now.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't describe any paranormal experiences when living in the home. However, this is another spot where the rumors of finding bodies under the floorboards begin to crop up. Once again, there's not a single article or evidence that substantiates this claim. 2007. We got an interesting one now. Actor Nicolas Cage purchases the property and is said to be living in one of the parts of the house while renting the rest of it out as apartments along the gallery. This
What?
is where the slave quarters used to be, by the way.
It seems insane.
It's crazy that it's true.
I know, well, it seems insane. And then he got rid of it because ghosts?
We'll get there. So in 2008,
Okay.
the Lalaurie Mansion is back on the market for a price of roughly $3.5 million. In 2009, Cage officially lost the property along with two other notable haunted houses in New Orleans due to delinquent taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Regions Financial Corporation purchases the foreclosed property at $5.5 million on November 13th of 2009. Now, the story of Nicolas Cage's delinquent taxes in the state of Louisiana is quite interesting, to say the least, as he owed money for his tomb in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 and failed to pay for it. Additionally, he still owes money for the structure. So I highly advise, if you're interested in hearing more about that and you're in New Orleans currently, take the St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 tour for further information regarding that, because it was quite an interesting story. And we might cover that in the future if we do decide to do like haunted cemeteries and stuff for like short little reprieves from true crime. In 2009, Claudia Williams, a self-proclaimed voodoo priestess, states that the house is no longer haunted. However, there are some inconsistencies in the article that she was cited in, which leads many to question if the estate is still haunted or not. Today, the Lalaurie Mansion was just recently purchased by Lance Zale, who's the founder of the United States Ghost Adventures, in 2024. A quick Google search will tell you what may possibly be happening in the coming years for the Lalaurie Mansion, as Zale possibly plans to open the building to the public for ghost tours. And that's all I got for you. Other than
Yay!
I've seen some creepy ass pictures in the last like 24 hours of doing the haunting stuff, because I don't research hauntings that well. There are some that have shadow apparitions, and from my own experiences of being on that street and taking pictures myself, I do have a picture that there appears to be a finely dressed woman in one of the windows upstairs on the second story, which isn't an uncommon spot to see Delphine Lalaurie. So if I can post that, I'll have my mom post that when we air this episode. I'll try to get a closer in on it, because yeah, you can kind of see it there, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, that could just be my figment of my imagination. But that is a common place to see her. It's also common to see shadow people down in the courtyard area, because you can see through the gates. So, yeah, no, it's wild. I think the building's haunted. I got the weirdest
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
standing
Yeah.
outside of there.
Honestly, I kind of wonder if, like, there was so much trauma that happened there that the Earth wants to reclaim it that much more,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so it's just, like, trying to absorb it back down into the ground faster than everywhere else. And then that's when you get weird stuff like walls bleeding. That's usually from, like, a bacteria or, like, a fungus.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
like
or a
the
mold or...
unidentifiable
Mhm.
liquid, and then like hearing about like the lighting in certain areas, for some reason it clicked back to ball lightning for me. And I
Mhm.
was like, that'd be weird if there was like a spontaneous human combustion situation, because that's a foul, unidentifiable liquid. And that's the only thing that came to my mind when they were like,
People are
unidentifiable
just
liquid.
exploding.
I'm like, oh.
Well, what came to my mind was like fungus, because I've lived in a house before with like a mold issue, and that
Mm-hmm.
would totally happen sometimes. The walls would just like look like they were bleeding, but it's really just like a bacterial or like a fungal thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like that
yeah.
happened in my
And I'm always like go up
apartment
to
over
him
in
like,
Glendale.
ugh. Yeah, yeah. When you get the freaky walls, you're like, huh.
You just gotta kind of stare at him like, I hope this isn't a
Mm-hmm.
curse. Oh well, off to class I go.
You're like, do those look like letters? No, not today. Cool. We're safe another day.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
This was a 3-parter.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody needs to thank future me. Or current me, I guess, when this is dropping. Be like, you
Thank
did
you.
God's work, Katie. Thank you.
You pieced together so many books. You got it all together in one thingy.
I'm so fucking tired, man.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, this was an interesting case to say the least. Like I've said through every episode, if you're looking for more information or you're wanting to dig deeper into this because you feel like we didn't cover enough, definitely check out the Mistress of a Haunted House book. It has a red cover with a very creepy picture of Miss Lalaurie on the front, and it is by Carolyn Morrow Long. She took me a while to get through because it is a little bit of a dry read, but it's not as dry as other like true crime books that I've read. So yeah, if you're interested in looking further into the legend and mystery of Madame Delphine Lalaurie, check that one out. Otherwise, if you're looking for a short read, but also like a little bit of the other side that people sympathize with her on, I feel like Madame Lalaurie pointed more towards that. Like, they sympathize with her, but they don't cut her clean slack from the case. Like, it's more of a, yeah, she probably did do some of this, but I don't think it's all on her, which I have to agree. I don't think it's all on her. I think she had a physician husband that was really curious about doing shit, but I also think that her hands aren't completely clean either.
I don't think they can be.
No.
I mean,
there's no way she didn't know
had
that
to
was
have been
happening in her own
financing it to
fucking
some
house.
level. Oh yeah, she definitely knew whatever was going on was going on.
Yeah, she fucking knew.
Yeah. This is also a really interesting case because I've also always wondered like what's speculation and like what's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to know that like yeah, the rumors are actually really close to like what was going on.
They're close.
I mean, like,
not entirely there, but they're close.
Yeah, like there might be like some bizarre twists and turns, but when you get back to like the bare bones of like what was going on that was wrong, the rumors kind of have it. Media kind of has it. I mean, she's not sewing bull heads onto people and making minotaurs, but like she was doing some weird stuff, which is unfortunate. So
thank you again for listening to Spattered. Please make sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Spattered Podcast and on X at Spattered Pod. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be notified when the show goes live or drops a video. As always, if you have a case request, any questions, or are interested in sponsoring the show, please email me at spatteredpodcast@gmail.com. Spattered is a true crime podcast hosted by Caitlin Gardner and Sarah Ray. The research and edits for this episode were done by Caitlin Gardner. All the music for the show was done by Lucio Cardenas. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. And remember, the truth is always in the blood.